Okay, now based on the events of episode 4 and a screenshot of episode 3, basically the moment where the person who came into Gary's room inserted some sort of drug into his IV. Someone was like, Jeremy, I paused the scene and you could see the person's like their wrist skin color, and it kind of looks like it's a white person or a light skinned person. It could be Hudson himself. But I think one of the clear indicators that Hudson is at the top of the suspect list. Now, I don't know if it's in regard to the stabbing or particularly the IV situation. We now know that Hudson has power of attorney over Gary's belongings, his money, his businesses, and whatnot. And if you're a haves and have-nots fan, you know exactly what that means, because that was the big blowout between Hannah and Jim towards the end of the series when Catherine put everything in Hannah's name via power of attorney after she got arrested for the Jennifer Salison murder. Now, basically at this point, people are like, man, it seems like, Hudson wants Gary out of the picture, because if he's able to succeed with framing someone else for taking him out, then he can like ride off into the sunset with everything Gary owns and he's good to go. Maybe he got tired of being, Gary's lapdog doing a bunch of grunt work, when it's like, what, this dude is way too unhinged. I can handle this a lot better. So that could be his tactic. Now from there, I want to take it a step further, because you look at the circumstances involving Hudson's change of heart, where he allowed Andy to go into Gary's room, and it just so happens that not long after she goes into the room, he becomes conscious and then starts, choking on his own vomit, or basically foaming at the mouth like he's being electrocuted, because whatever got put into his IV was taking effect. And it just seemed way too timed, because Hudson was adamant not to let Andy in the room. And I mean, when you think about how that negligent guard who makes Barney Fife look competent, if you're an Andy Griffith fan, you know the reference there. It just seems like he purposefully got the worst security guard ever. That way the person who snuck into the room, maybe it was him, was able to do so without anybody seeing him do it. And as a result, when Andy shows up, he's able to make a scene, stall for time, and then from there is able to make it so, you know what, go in the room. Gary's in this position, and now she could possibly be blamed for it. Well, based on the next episode in the promo, Andy stops the doctor, Dr. Reed, which is like the third time I've heard that name. Dr. Reed from Zatima, Dr. Reed in this episode, and Dr. Reed from a non-Tyler Perry show, Papa's House, which you should check out my reviews for here on the channel. Now, the doctor, I don't know. Maybe Andy isn't blamed initially, but maybe Hudson aroused his suspicion, like, doctor, I don't want her anywhere near this room, because she was the only one in the room when Gary's vitals started going haywire. So for all we know, she possibly has something to do with it. So I'm thinking that's what sets Andy off in the promo for next week, when she's back at the penthouse in tears, probably out of anger and frustration. Now, in terms of the whole, wait a minute, Hudson, this seems a bit too planned and scheduled. A lot of people were like, well, Jeremy, I like your theory, but how would Hudson even know that Andy was on her way to the hospital? Well, sadly, this is where, if we want to take it further, we could argue that Robin is a part of the problem, due to the fact that he was the one that told Andy to go to the hospital in the first place, meaning that he might have contacted Hudson about it. But if we want to absolve Robin of any guilt in this situation, because he clearly gave a great answer to Fatima about why he's back in town. Some people might say it's a bit too coincidental and answers Fatima's questions and suspicions a bit too easily. Well, maybe we're looking at it with Robin playing a reverse Uno card on Gary. Gary utilized one of Robin's employees, Hayden, in order to team up to usurp his power and get him out of the law firm. So, in an exchange of Gary's tactics, Robin worked with Gary's underling Hudson in order to take him out, and then, get revenge. That would be clever writing. But if you want to look at another fact that I don't know if we ever got any follow-up on, it was stated, if I remember correctly, didn't Gary tell Andy this to her face in the parking lot when he made that ultimatum? He had bugs planted at both Jordan's place and the penthouse. So if Hudson is aware, Hudson should be aware of this. Yeah, he could have been listening in on everything, like when the girls came over to the penthouse, he would know that, oh, wait a minute, Andy's going to the hospital, because I think she said it as they were getting on the elevator at the end of episode 2. So Hudson would have heard this. No, actually it was episode 3, because episode 3 is when the girls spent like 20 minutes just talking. Yeah, so Hudson would have known. And, he probably would have been able to time it and figure out a plan. So, and remember, Robin was telling Andy about this strategy at the end of episode 2. So yeah, Hudson probably would have timed it, because remember, the person who stuck Gary's IV did it prior to Andy leaving the penthouse to go to the hospital. So, I mean, either way, Hudson is not coming out of this looking too clean himself. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Is he working alone? Is he working with Robin? How do you think this is planned out? And do you think Andy's going to get blamed for it? So like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.